All right, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. This is the weekly Black Women in Science and Engineering, or BWISE, Career Blab. And today we've got the phenomenal Carol Sankar. She's going to be talking about the confidence factor. And so for those of you who've been with us for the last several weeks when we've done these blabs, you know that we're talking about, things that are relevant and pertinent to our careers, in particular to those of us who are in technical or scientific fields. Our challenge and our walk is a little bit different. Some of the same things are probably true to all fields, but I feel as an engineer, we're out there in the mud, in the muck, climbing up on things, climbing under things. And so, some of us have, a little added challenge in our careers. And I want to make sure those of us who are trying to matriculate up the corporate ladder or be an entrepreneur or whatever have the right tools in order to make sure that we're successful in doing that. So what I try to do with BWISE is bring on people, and I see a lot of people, through LinkedIn who have coaching and girl, get your money and you're a boss lady and all that. I see a lot of that. And some of them I'm sure are, very dynamic and do some really great things. But I try to be very discerning in who I select for the group, because I want to make sure that in this hour, you get some things that you can apply right now to your career, your work life, your entrepreneurial endeavors, and then B, somebody that you can reach back for and, work with or attend any programs that they have or books that they have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carol. And what I'm going to do, hopefully, if Blab allows me to, Carol, is to post your link to the confidence factor. And if you would tell us about what the confidence factor is, your book, and I think you've got some upcoming events. We want to share that with all the ladies so that, everybody who's interested, and I'm sure they're going to be sitting on the edge of their seats tonight, can get in contact with you. And so we can all get our confidence up and make some things happen out there. So without further ado, this is Carol Sankar of The Confidence Factor. She's got a very compelling story, and I'm going to let her tell you all about it. And then, certainly you guys who've been on Blab before know how it works. If you hear something that you agree with and you think is great, click on those little hands in the right-hand corner. And certainly if you have any questions or comments, you guys know how to type that in on the live chat. So without further ado, Carol Sankar. Thank you, Carol, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the confidence factor and how you came up with that and all that.
Long story short, the confidence factor was an accident, completely random thoughts that were going through my mind. I am a real estate developer by trade, and I'm used to being the only woman in the room. I'm still used to it. It's something that I do on an everyday basis. Forgive me if my voice sounds a little out of it. I'm suffering with some nasal allergy issues, but anyway.
No worries. Hey, Carol, can you turn your mic up a little bit?
Oh, sure. Hold on. Let me see if this is on. My microphone is down. Can you hear it a little bit better? All right. Can you hear me a little bit better, Erica?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. It's me trying to get the little nasal out. But anyway, like I said, I started the confidence factor somewhat by an accident. I'm used to being the only woman in the room. As a real estate developer, I'm used to being the only woman in the room. I'm used to being the only young woman in the room. I'm used to being the brownest woman in the room. I am from Trinidad. I'm used to being the only Caribbean woman in the room. I'm just used to a lot of stuff, and I was becoming really immune to it. And the ironic part that was happening was I wanted to figure out why is it that nobody else is noticing this but me? So is it that I'm not getting women that want to be here, or is it just that women just don't know these opportunities exist? So around 2009, these questions really kind of get into my mind spot, because I'm trying to figure out, does nobody else feel lonely in high-level careers but me? And as someone who doesn't work for anybody, especially when you are on your own mission and journey building a company of your own, it is tough because most people don't feel the pressure and the pain of your phone going off every 10 seconds, and they don't know that even though you know a lot of people, you're lonely. So they don't know that. So they're like, oh, you're popular, you got a huge following, but they don't know I'm probably the only person that looks like me in my own following, but that's a long story. So 2010, I started this study called, it was supposed to be called the resource study, where I was going to bring resources to women who claimed that they needed money to start businesses or they needed business plans in order for them to get their business to the next level. I was going to bring them every resource they ever needed to this one platform. I was going to work on this for 2 years as my own give back project to see what will happen if you bring women into this incubator and support them on their dreams and in their value systems for X amount of time. How long would it take them to actually take action? So the thought was 24 months would be great. So we'll give them the money, we'll give them the tools, we'll give them the resources, we'll give them everything they asked for. And in 2 years, they will be up, running, and successful. And in the first 24 months, we had a 0% success rate. So I said, okay, let's extend it for 2 more years and let's see what happens. And at the end of 4 years, we had a 99% failure rate amongst all 100 women that were in the study. So
I wanted 99% failure rate?
99%. So we took on 100 women, 99 of those women decided that, I can't, I'm too this, I'm too that. They had all kinds of excuses. And so I started to realize I can no longer participate in my own study because here's the thing. I'm as children. If you let go a little bit, if I let go, what's going to happen? How am I going to be able to watch them figure out what they want to do? Well, we're on year number 6 since the study actually commenced, and we still are at an 80-something% failure rate. And really what this is all about is that I bring you the resources, I bring you the money, I bring you the tools, I bring you everything you ask for, but you don't have the confidence to implement it. So the confidence factor was the factor that I missed. So here I am bringing you the tools. So you said you wanted lip gloss, I brought you lip gloss. Here you said you wanted a phone number, I brought you a phone number. Here I brought you a conference, I brought you everything you asked for, but you didn't ask me for confidence, and I couldn't give you that because that's not what you asked for. So I realized most women, don't ever say that they're not confident, because we all like to exude our confidence. That's what you just said a moment ago about the whole issue with everybody coaching. So they all like to portray that they're confident enough to be able to put together a coaching program a day. But at the end of the day, you can coach people all you want. If they're not confident enough to be able to implement the material you give them, it won't make a difference anyway because they have the tools. They just don't know what to do with the tools. So the confidence factor is about helping women, and I should say assisting more than helping, to be able to understand that the benefit to them being able to be successful is about implementation, but having the confidence to walk into rooms where they may not know the language of the people in those rooms, but they have to understand that the only thing that's separating them from themselves and their own failures is confidence. And so that's how it was birthed.
Okay.
I don't like the look on your face, Erica.
No, don't go by don't go by that. No, don't go by that. I'm looking intently. No, I'm looking intently. Welcome, Alicia. No, don't go by me. No, I'm engaged and I'm listening. And some of the things that you spoke about being the only, I know a lot of us can certainly attest to being the only. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing when you start your career, you're the only. But 25 years later, and you're still the only. What's going on here? So I think that's why it's so important. We can only impact what we do and how we feel and how we think and react. We can't, necessarily, go into, corporate America and say, you're going to make sure you bring some more Black females, into the organization. We certainly can, work with, entities within our organizations to help bring that about, networking, bringing people in. But, at the end of the day, you only have control of yourself. So we want to make sure that we have the tools in order to make sure that happens. So I've told people before that the foundation of all that we're trying to do with, the group has got to be based on, we're confident in what we are doing and what we can do. We spent 4 or 5 years, some of us getting these degrees and then advanced degrees beyond this in these very technical and challenging fields. And then, to still be underemployed or, not as far along as our careers as, some of our colleagues who've got less experience and certainly less education. So to me, the confidence issue is a very important thing that needs to be addressed. And honestly, you were probably the first person I saw that spoke specifically to confidence. I feel like that's the root and foundation of, most challenges that we as Black women have, either in our careers and other parts of our life, is, being able to stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm not going to put up with that, or no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm worth more than that. So, can you speak a little bit more about, I know you do a whole series when you're talking about, how to get confident, or can you kind of expound on that a little bit? Thank you. You posted the link. I've been trying to.
That's okay, I got it.
So can you kind of expound upon that and tell us, you've got an event coming up, and what are you going to be talking about that event? Is it this month, or is it a little farther out?
August. I'm sorry.
August.
I so was out of it. I'm like, when is my event? August 19th.
Okay.
That's okay. Basically, what I do in my events is no motivation. I don't do fluff. I think many of us have been motivated enough. We have been underserved in the motivational space. No upselling. When I get into a room, it's about getting the work done. So this event that I'm doing is called Increase Your Ask, is a part of the confidence factor. It's an actual chapter in the next installment of the confidence factor, where I discuss the fact that most women, the fact is we are underemployed because we don't ask for enough. We go in with this assumptive value that just a little bit now is good, and we'll take it, and it'll grow over time.
Right.
But my struggle has always been that when I see people saying the reality is later never happens. And for me, when I left corporate America almost 14 years ago, I left under, I'm not going to call it duress. I left under terms where I found out that for every hour I worked, I was worth $250 an hour to the firm, of which I was being paid like 20. And I didn't know that there was negotiating room in there, because they kept telling me that's industry standard. And so what this event is about is understanding that you are always to walk into a place of employment, or when you start your own company, you are always to negotiate the highest and best value for you. There's no such thing as industry standard. I hate to say it like this and be so very blunt, but many of us, just women, we always take whatever people tell us, and we don't negotiate for more because we're seen as being arrogant if we do. But my husband owns several stores, and he's the most ignorant man I know. And I love him to death, but I mean, he's ignorant. Like, there's no orange. He's just ignorant, right? And people still respect him. I do it. It's a whole other issue. So what I'm saying, when I get into this room on 19th, it's about showing women you can balance that you want in your head, but know that there's always negotiating room, whether you're in your own career, whether you're bidding on a government contract.
Carol, you still there?
Government contract. What do you want corporate clients? What do you want to coach people? Whatever it is you want to do. But there's always negotiating, and don't let
I think I lost you. Can you hear me, Carol? I see you, but I don't hear anything. And we've got a question from D. How can BWISE women add knowledge with confidence? So hopefully, Carol, when you come back, we can answer that question. You still there? This is why we love Blab. Sometimes we get frozen. So hopefully Carol's going to come back and we can make sure we answer that question.
Let anybody tell you.
Okay, so I'm hearing lost. Okay, there's Carol. So she's going to dial back in. So, for those of you who have some other questions, please send them and we'll make sure we get these answered. Here she comes. She's coming back. Okay. Can you hear me, Carol? Can you hear? We can see you, but we can't hear. Well, you're not saying anything, but I can see you. Oh, she can't see. You can't see anyone? Can you hear me? Lovely, lovely Blab.
What happened here?
Okay, so she's probably going to go back out and come back in. So while we're waiting for Carol, we'll just, okay, so I see can hear Erica, but not Carol. So she's going to come back in. In the meantime, we'll make sure we, have some good questions for her because, I said the purpose of this Blab is to make sure that we learn, specifically some things that we need to address within ourselves. So, if one of the issues, as Carol was mentioning a little earlier, is about the ask. If we're leaving money on the table, if we're leaving opportunities on the table because we have not asked for them or raised our hand, we've had some conversations about leaning in. And those of us who've read the book or know anything about it, know sometimes as a Black woman, you can't lean in. You're already kind of viewed as, maybe aggressive, assertive, things like that. So we want to make sure we ask Carol about that as well. Here she comes. Hey, Carol, can you hear me now?
I know I can hear you. All of a sudden, you left me. Now they're saying that I left you. I didn't leave.
Well, now you sound great. Now you actually sound louder than before. So I don't know where you left off. If you remember, you can go. But if not, we've got a question.
Okay, go for the question because I forgot.
What was the question? Question was, how can BWISE women add knowledge with confidence? So we've got the training, we've got the experience. What would you recommend for us to start developing our confidence level, and so we can get the ask?
Number one, you got to stay away from fearful people.
Okay,
that's the first thing. The thing is, your network is affiliated with your net worth, and most of the things that you will not ask for is associated with the 5 people that don't normally ask. So that's the first thing. And then the major part of this is practicing what your ask is. So consistently remind yourself what you have to practice in asking whatever you want to ask for, whether it's a raise, an opportunity. You have to consistently play that message over and over in your head. Today, I'm asking for the corner office. Tomorrow, I'm asking for an elevated opportunity. You have to consistently make that ask a little bit bigger. And the last thing I always say is to make sure you're always putting a principle about money simply. Because a lot of times we ask for opportunity, but we don't ask to get paid for it because we're volunteers. And so we have to be able to incorporate asking and money all at the same time because there's a value proposition in there. And most of the time we don't like to act as though we're greedy. We think that's a very bad thing. As women, we're taught to give and never to receive. That's why you have so many women ministries, but you don't have many women CEOs. Right. You're only 6% of the market. So in order for you to do that, you have to associate a dollar value to what it is you're about to ask for so that all of them kind of come together.
That's important. And I think a lot of us, I think men, it comes natural to ask, they're going to put their needs first. And you hear a lot of people saying, men without question negotiate, salaries or, offers and things like that. And women, for the most part, I've read, we take whatever the offer is and don't even push back and ask for another penny. And, for those of us who've spent any time in HR or work with people, that the first offer is at the low end. They're hoping you're going to take that low end offer, but they've got a range. So they know that, they may have to, expend additional money than, they're originally going to come at you with. And so I think that's important. You have value, and we've got some questions too. You have value and you have to know your value. And like you said, Carol, you have to ask for it. And I love what you say about tying that money to, what you're looking for. It's one thing to say, oh, I want a promotion. Okay. What else goes along with that? I think that's key. So we got a couple questions.
Money.
Money. So that's going to be the takeaway from tonight. Money. So we got a couple. Carol, what typical question should BWISE members ask? And then second question, when did your confidence shift, or were you always confident? From Marsha. So you want to take Dee's question first. What typical questions, as it could be any woman, not necessarily, those of us in the group, but what's a typical type of question we need to be asking? And I'm assuming this is just in general, I'm assuming this is just a general question, maybe with your manager, or do you have, like in your book, do you address this in particular? So you're asking these type of questions with your manager, these type of questions with your customers, if you have a business, are your questions grouped, or, can you expound upon that a little bit?
Sure. I think some of the questions you have to ask are from a standpoint of what you want, and so
Mm-hmm.
in assuming what you want out of this, what do you want out of this relationship? The first thing is you must always audit where you're going, what you're going to ask for. Meaning, if there are if there's a person in that category before you. So in other words, you're asking for a managerial position. What is the current manager making? Has that current manager been at the top of indexing, meaning the top of the pay scale? What are the qualifications of that person? And you need to ask that of HR as well. So those are kind of like similar questions to ask. You are not without entitlement of being able to find out what your competitors make. It's part of the job of the U.S. Labor Statistics Office. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is what's the normal tenure of someone in that position, so that you know that if you're being pushed out after 4 years or 5 years, the tenure is normally 20, whatever it is. You're trying to figure out how you can expand upon the tenure. So those are the two questions I always advise that you ask. And then the other question is from Marcia, and I forgot. I'm cutting out. Oh my gosh. Do you want me to call back in?
I don't know if it's. Let me move my electronics.
Because I'm actually on two portals with you, and you're cutting out too on my side. I'm actually on my tablet watching you on another side. So I don't know if it's both me and you, or maybe I should call in from my tablet. Maybe that will help you a little bit.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, give me 2 seconds.
Okay, so she's going to be back. So we've got a couple questions. That's the challenge of new technology. Sometimes it's got little bugs that it's trying to work out. I love Blab, but there are some challenges with this. So I'm looking at possibly shifting over to another one. So she'll be right back, and we'll get back to your question, Marcia, because she's saying some really important things. I want to make sure that we get that, because the purpose, like I said, in an hour, it's not a lot of time, but I want to at least provide you all with information so that you can get started. And I think I've said this before, confidence, or our lack of confidence, is kind of the foundation of some of the struggles we're having, in these roles. Some of us have had, careers or positions where they show up multiple times. So you've had challenges, at this job. And, it could be a lack of confidence on your part. Not that that's a fault, but it manifests with a company that's not progressive. So if you work for a company that's not progressive, that's not diverse, has a history of problems with employees, and then you're not a assertive Black woman, could lead to some problems. So we want to make sure that we correct that. So she's coming back in. I'm confident it's going to sound great this time. So Carol's coming back. So she's coming back. She's coming. The dial-in number. No, I don't think there's a dial-in number. Just through Twitter. So she's coming back. Okay, so I'm clear, which is weird. I don't know if that has something to do with me being the host or not. So she's coming. She's trying to come. Oh shoot, she's gone again. So in the meantime, we'll just wait for her to come back in. But any other questions, I'll try to, add my 2 cents on confidence. And you guys, I see a lot of my regulars on. Any other things that you want us to talk about in regards to confidence? Marcia, we'll make sure we get back to your question about when she started this. And I know a little bit about her story is, I think her background is in real estate, and she was noticing that, she was one of very few. And so she kind of came up with this idea to look at, what are some of the things that are similar amongst those, people do have confidence. And I love that focus on us, right? We can only control what we're able to do. So I love the fact that, she's focused on providing these tips. She's got a book. I think she sent you the link. So those of you who are interested in learning more about what she's doing, you can see the link. And I'll make sure I send this out afterwards. Let's see. Okay, so she cut out. So she's coming back. Share your confidence. Share your confidence with White House sponsored event June 14th. So those of you who are on, some of you may know that, I was nominated, and I nominated myself as well. to go to the White House for the United States of Women Summit, which is next week. And I'm really excited. I was just sharing with those of you who were on early that, they're kind of releasing the information about the event, in pieces. So I have not seen an entire agenda or list or, attendees or speakers yet. But, each day I get a little bit more information. So today I saw that Oprah was going to be there. So that's going to be great. And I think it's going to be an opportunity. And I think this is the first one they're doing. So it's going to be an opportunity to network with other people. And, they've broken it up into a variety of different topics. Some of them are regarding gender equality and pay. And of course, I'm going to speak about or learn or network about, STEM education and as well as improving the corporate world regarding diversity and our share as far as women in general. So here comes Carol. Yay, I'm confident this is going to work. So that's it. And I'll make sure that, on the next Blab after that, we talk about what's going on. Oh, that looks good.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds great.
Okay.
All right. That's perfect. Okay. So we'll go back a little bit because Marsha had asked, how did you become confident, and when did you make the shift? And I know a lot of people sometimes they will ask, how did you do that? When did you do that? Because they're looking to try to match that up with their lives and say, oh, well, she said she did that after this happened to her. So, how did you come across that? And I know that's probably something you're always practicing, but can you speak a little bit about your experience and your own confidence factor?
I think it happened really when I went broke. Literally, I had gotten to the point where I was allowing clients to underpay me. I was allowing people to take advantage of me at one point, and I had gotten tired of it. And you know how they always say you get sick and tired of being sick and tired? It had gotten to a point where not only was I sick and tired of being sick and tired, I knew that I would vent to my family and vent to my husband, but not do anything about it to strangers. So I'd take their abuse all day. And then I'd come home and I'd be stressed out. And by this point, I had already developed a whole bunch of property. So I had some money, but I was going broke using my personal funds to fund this business venture because I was underserving. Because I thought, oh, you have to start small. Typical women thinking. You have to start small, take a little bit for now, and it's going to grow, and God be with me. It's going to take some time. Yeah. So as I'm trying not to eat peanut butter and jelly because that's not part of my healthy diet, I realized that a lot of it was because I wasn't asking for enough. Another part of it was that I was expecting people to honor me when I wasn't honoring myself. And the other part was I knew that I knew what I knew, but I wasn't showing people enough about what I knew. So it was about me being the voice and the vocal change agent that I needed to be, and so that I could show up in this masterpiece a little bit differently. So the confidence in me turned when I had enough. I had enough of funding my business from my personal bank account. I had enough of being in a just enough space. I had enough of living average. I had enough of this 2-bedroom apartment. I had enough of the not being able to eat where I wanted to eat, live the way I wanted to live. I had enough. And so when you have enough, you start realizing it's time for you to either ask or you have to make some changes. And I could have been a typical stay-at-home mom. My husband he does well. I could stay at home and just cook and clean and do everything he asked me to, but I'm way too intelligent for that. I just I got this little master's degree thing. I got to work this. So I just decided that I have to live in the abundance of the supply that I've been given. And I had to start asking, and I had to start being very unapologetic about saying no to a lot of people, a lot of things, and a lot of things around me. And so when you get to that point, because some things I think with women, if you're not at that point yet, you don't feel what I'm talking about. When you get to a point where you're tired of being the smartest one in the stupidest room, when you get tired of not living the way you want to, not living on your worth scale, when you're tired of allowing people to take advantage of you, you get tired and you're going to make a change that day. That's going to be the last day, the actual last day that you make the decision that you're going to let fear be the CEO of your life. And that's how the confidence in me was birthed personally. And then I had to start being unapologetic. And when I made that unapologetic shift, I cut a lot of people out of my diet. A lot. And my fearful broke friends. Now what I do is the new Carol says you are in a category, because I'm human too. So I do need my little ratchetness. I do need my little this, that, the other. I'm human, right? I do need a little gossip once in a while. I can't talk all business all day, right? So I put people in categories. And so that's how I'm able to really, transpose that message to other people.
Okay. I think that's critical, that it's going to be different for, everyone. Everyone's journey is going to be different. And I think a lot of people want to know, okay, so what did you do? That way, at least I'll know I can use that kind of as a framework, right? It's not going to work. What you did is not going to work for me. What I do is not going to work for anyone else. But I think people want to say, okay, well, she said she started off by saying no to people. Okay, I'm going to start that way and then build on that and do something else. And I think that's why it's important to share kind of what people are doing, to get that. That's key. Some of us, and I say this, Carol, since this is your first time joining, by nature, scientists and engineers are probably overwhelmingly introverted. I mean, I don't know if you know any scientists and engineers, but that they're kind of drawn to that field. And so when you add that, to being a Black woman in a field where we're, severely underrepresented, very challenging technical. I mean, you're possibly dealing with, dangerous chemicals or, building bridges or things like that. So, you're sometimes, second guessing yourself. I had a conversation with one of our members today about second guessing yourself and thinking, am I sure that this is the right thing to do? Am I doing this right? And until you find out that they're doing the same thing, the white boys are doing the same thing, you're not the only one that's thinking, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I do need to get some help. We will continue to struggle. So that's why I think so important, that we talk about how to build our confidence or whatever. I've had this conversation about leaning in, and, Black women, we need to come up with something else because we can't lean in. White women can lean in. Black women got to do something else, right? Because we're already.
That's not true. That's not true. The thing is, they don't teach us what to do after you lean in. That's not true. All women have a deficit. The problem is that some women lean in with a different posture. So Asian women are completely leaned in. White women are behind Asian women. So when you talk about pay scale, Asian women are way above all of us. So they're number one.
Really?
Oh, yes. Just check the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're number one. They're 90% in the door. Caucasian women are at 77 cents in the door. Black women are at the 59% mark. So it's just a matter of the posture that we have. The problem is that we have to stop saying that there's something else that we have to do. The thing is, you have to look at the woman who's leaning in the most and figure out what her posture is, and you have to start being a study of what she's doing to get in. The thing is, we are all introverts. I'm just like you. I don't really want to be outside. I like a good nightgown and a head tie. That really excites me. But at the end of the day, I have to imitate the posture of the person who is leaned in the most. Now, the issue is with lean in that I do have an issue with, and I don't agree with, is that after you lean in, you have to speak up, because your presence is not the only thing that's going to get you in the door. Most of us lean in, and then we sit there silent like we're going to get beaten. And that's the thing that is holding us back. We lean in like we're assistants, like we're slaves. We don't lean in and say, here's my point. We always, excuse me, can I add? We're apologetic in our posture instead of leaning in and saying, hey, let me tell you what I want to say. That's the difference between leaning in as a woman of color and leaning into the conversation. You have to add value when you get there, because they don't recognize you.
How do we do that? We've got a member, and I invited her. She did one of our earlier blabs. Her name is Erica too. And she said her challenge was, especially in a technical field, right? Because the thought is, what are you even doing at the table? And she said she had problems with leaning in too far. And so how do you balance, not being the angry Black woman with, hey, I have an opinion and I have, some valuable information to share, just like everyone. How do you balance that without being the angry Black woman?
You're going to be that. So get over that. That's the issue. The issue is we're trying to experiment with a temperament that is not us. So if that's who you are in general, just deal with it. Because I even said it last week at this conference I spoke at. You're either going to be called a bimbo or a B. You just have to pick which one you want. Which B do you want to be called today? But at the end of the day, if you don't speak up and be authentically you, you're not going to be recognized. So it's not about us changing our temperament for the situation. It's about us adding value at the table. The problem is we're always the one who is trying to change who we are to fit the dynamic, when the dynamic needs to recognize that we have enough value to be in the room. If we stop doing that, we will be able to get into rooms at a much higher rate. Right now, when we get in, we act apologetic and we start being demure. But outside, me and you fight against each other on Love and Hip Hop. But inside of the conference room, we don't speak because we don't add value where it's necessary. So what we have to do is, after we get in the room, however you say it, whether you're a cusser or whatever you do, you have to get in the room, but you have to speak. You can't sit there and well, I don't know if my outfit is good, or we can't keep questioning ourselves. Be who you are, be angry, and what? I know the thing is, most of my Caucasian or non-African American counterparts are just angry women too. There's no difference. Just as belligerent as you want to be, but that's authentically them, and that helps them to create value. And they know that that's the reason why they're there, because they need that. We have to stop being who we're not called to be. That's who you're called to be it.
Right. I think some of us, have, stifled ourselves in order to fit, certain company cultures or whatever. And in the end, I think, you end up losing yourself and doubting yourself. So I think that's really important, that whoever you are, that's who you are. That's how God meant you to be. And don't try to change to fit a company culture. If they're not appreciative of who you are and what you bring, get your pocketbook and head to the exit. Exit stage. Right. That's important.
No, we have to stop.
All right.
I'm just saying, we have to stop that. We have to stop fitting somebody else's mold of what they expect us to be. It's not going to work. It's never going to work.
No. I know you guys have some questions. Tam, I know you got questions. Who else got questions about, maybe some, and tell me what's in the book, Carol, if you would, what we can look forward to when we get the book, because we're going to get this book. And if we get some money, we're going to join you in August. That's my vice president.
Okay.
Be quiet. We're
I love it already.
He wants to put his 2 cents in. But what can we expect to see in the book? What are some of the things that you're going to cover in the book?
Well, the next installment of the Confidence Factor. Do I have a copy here? Yeah, I do. It's called The Chronicles. I had to look at the cover because I didn't remember the name of my own book. Not because I forgot, because I got a lot on my brain. And basically what it is a chronological order of how I wrote The Confidence Factor. So just my thoughts, things that I had to go through in experimenting and understanding why women absent in these rooms. And much of the conversation that you're going to see in this book stems from, it doesn't say it directly, but there's a subliminal, and those who know me knows what happened. There's a subliminal moment where the Confidence Factor took a major turn when I had to go to a venture capital summit, and I invited 15 women, all nationalities, to come. And the day of the summit, none of them showed up. And the reason why was because, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to dress. I don't know if my business is ready. I don't know. And when I got inside, there were only 17 women, 17, and 1,000 men. And so the conversation for the Chronicles starts from that point on. It starts with, why aren't we in the room? Why do we have this issue with quote unquote balance? Why do we think we need to balance everything? And then why are we taking advice from people who tell us how to balance, but they have maids at home? I don't have a maid. Like, I don't have a nanny. I do regular child care. Like, I'm this regular human being. So I talk about that. And then I started with the self-doubt and the self-pity, the pity parties that we often throw ourselves, and the pity parties we tend to go to. I talk about the language of leadership. I talk about the fact that many of us don't know the language of the rooms we want to stay in. So the thing is, in order for you to lean in, you don't even know the language that they're speaking, so you lean out. So we're going to talk about a lot of that. And then I go into just deeper conversations about how we kind of, as women, we do a great job of pushing each other down. Like, collectively, we do a fabulous job of knocking each other down in the corporate sector, because we don't want any other woman to get ahead. But men see that as our vice, and they run with that. And so they get ahead of us because I'm too busy fighting with Erica. Erica's too busy fighting with me. We're not friends. We don't sit at the lunch table together. We're nasty to each other in the workplace. And Bob realizes that me and Erica are qualified to be in the corner office. He just goes for the opportunity. He gets it. Now me and Erica have nothing to fight about. But now we're enemies. And so then Erica starts a war against me. I started working. And this kind of baby-like behavior continues. And I talk about that in the book as well as some other issues that I believe that women need to hear about the way we publicize our fears a lot. Just issues that I've noticed where women, we could quote T.D. Jakes until we're blue in the face, but we don't do any of the stuff that we actually quote, as if we don't live by our own principle. And so then when we go into leadership positions, we introvert ourselves into what we want, but we don't actually go into the rooms to go get it. So all of that is in the book. Somewhat hurtful, somewhat truthful diary. It's literally all of the writings. Every time I went to my incubator and I discovered something, I wrote about it. And every single thing that I wrote is in the next chapter of the Confidence Factor.
I think that's important. Just yesterday, I saw on LinkedIn that PwC, Waterhouse-Cooper, had, sent out this congratulatory email listing, 226 of their new partners. For those of you who don't know, PricewaterhouseCoopers is a conglomerate that, does accounting and business consulting and a wide variety of things. And I guess it's kind of one of those white glove firms where, you've got expense account and you travel first class. And, so it's not necessarily a place where a lot of Black people are anyway. But so anyway, they sent this, congratulatory, congratulations to our new partners. And I scrolled 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 some more. And it wasn't until I was 3 people from the bottom of this 226 list that I found the only Black female. And I thought, now, how can that be? I've got almost 350 members in my group, and BWISE is open to anyone, but I focus on mid to senior level women. And as long as you have a science or math or physics or engineering degree, I invite you, but it's open to anyone. So I said, I've got 350 women that could run circles around probably most of those people who were made partners. Why are we still not at that table? Why is there one Black female? And I didn't even look at her. I was so frustrated. I didn't even look at her background. But I'm like, I just can't believe that of the 226 people that, just recently made partner all around the country, there was only one qualified Black woman to sit at that table. Really? I'm trying to figure out, what do we need to do for ourselves, so we can get to the table? Are we undermining ourselves by the type of roles we're taking? I feel like personally, if you've worked in a plant, in a refinery, in anything, where you're in operations or manufacturing, do that early in your career. Nobody wants to see a 65-year-old Black woman, climbing up ladders. That's not cute. That's not good look. We need to have, moved on up, to higher levels in the company. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us take that experience and knowledge that we've gotten early in our careers and have a seat at the table so we can say, well, Bob, I understand you think we should, do this acquisition, but based on what I know about the chemical industry, I think X, Y, Z. I want to see that. And I want to see that as examples for the next generation of, little brown girls who are going into STEM careers, right? Why would we continue to encourage, people to come into careers if, the highest you can ever hope to be is a manager? So, kudos to all that you're doing and what you're sharing, because I think that's critical. And like I said, I feel like the confidence is the foundation. If we don't have that, none of these career blabs that I'm doing, every week with, a variety of consultants is going to matter because it's going to be built on something, that ultimately you're going to revert back to, like you said, not asking for things, not speaking up, not being our authentic self. So any more questions? I'm looking for questions. I'm trying to make sure I keep my eye on questions too.
Actually, can I add something to that Pricewater, keep saying PwC, PricewaterCooper issue? There's a small issue in that, and it's called the $1 Million Roundtable, and it's a huge political issue. It's something that, and I will be speaking there in 2017, so I'm not going to get into the politics of that. But what I will say is this. We often open the door to a room, we don't see anybody who looks like us, and we leave. And the issue is that it's not 100% that there's no qualified. It's just that when we look through like how you look through all 200 and some odd names, we look through it and we don't see a name that we recognize, a picture that we recognize. We just don't apply, because then we automatically think, goes back to confidence. We go back and we start thinking, they won't look at me. They don't, I don't have what it takes. And so we undermine ourselves, we underestimate ourselves, and then we think that it's just a political issue. And the reason I bring up the $1 Million Roundtable is because for many years I had gone to the $1 Million Roundtable. It's a very small incubator, very hard to get into. When I tell you the creme de la creme is there. And when you go in those rooms, nobody that looks like you and I are in there, but there are very few women in general in there. So it's not even a women of color issue. There's just no feminine energy in the room. So normally you and I go to the door, we look in. These are the power brokers that are going to disservice and kind of distinguish if we belong at that PWC meeting, right? We look in there, we see 2,000 men over the age of 65, and we automatically assume that they know the Koch brothers or Mr. Bush or whatever, and we close the door. We don't even introduce ourselves. So some of it is our own fault, because we don't even want to shake the hands of anybody who doesn't look like us, because we're scared. We have a mentality that there's automatic rejection if we don't see ourselves in the room. And that's the reason why when I started writing the research for the confidence factor, I had to let people know I'm used to being the only one. And I had to keep going. I couldn't keep saying, well, I go in there, nobody looks like me. The opportunity is open. If you tell me no and you're rejecting me, it's either a skill set I don't have or you don't have a need for me. But at the end of the day, if you have the invitation to open the door, you don't see anybody else who looks like you, I want you ladies to make history and say, hello, my name is, introduce yourself, and really work the room. Because the thing is, unless you network with the people who are at the top, you're not going to get the opportunity to sit in amongst that 250 people who just made it. And that was the one person who did. That's the one person who said, okay, color is not an issue for me today. I'm going to go in and do it. And we have to really get that confidence to kind of get out of the scarcity mindset that just because nobody else is in that space that we can't be. Today, Hillary Clinton made history because nobody has been in this space. It may not look like us, but somebody's in the space. So now we have to work on us getting in the space and not being so intimidated by the opportunity.
Right. We've got a question about the $1 Million Roundtable. So I'll let you explain it, because since I haven't been, I'll let you kind of tell what it is. But I know it's with the intention of getting minority firms a seat at the table. And then I think it was some financial target and some
financial target.
Time frame target.
You have to make $1.6 million in a year in order to be invited. You can't apply. You have to be invited to the MRT. And so how they do it is they especially look at how your company has performed over a certain amount of time. And it's mostly for financial people in financial industries, financial lending industries, FDIC-backed securities, insurance brokers, anybody who's doing Series 6 and 63 trades. That basically controls every company in the world. So basically, this is the entity that says, in your company, whatever your company is, of course, if we're talking about PricewaterhouseCoopers, in your company, you had 15 people who have done over $1 million. I want to invite those 6 people to my $1 Million Roundtable and basically give you a seat at the table to invite more of a diverse inclusion space. When you get in there, it is literally to chop down the belief that there are no $1 million earners in the financial sector. However, can I tell you something? I've sat at the $1 Million Roundtable before by invitation, and I can tell you that sometimes they put out the invitation and sometimes we don't go, because we automatically assume that it's some gimmick, or they audited the company. It's a private institution. They audited you because they're trying to say you're the best here. So we're trying to make sure you know who the best is over here. and you still don't answer. So when I did the $1 Million Roundtable, I think that's 2014 or 2013. I want to say there were 2,000 people there, maybe the receptionist and the maid and myself, maybe.
Wow.
There weren't, but
wow.
And there were other women that were invited. They actually call out all the names of the companies they audited and all the names of the people they invited. Only half of them showed up. So what I'm saying is, it's not like to say we don't get the invitation. We get to the door, we open it, we don't see anybody who looks like us, or we're trying to find a table where everybody sits that looks like us. We don't see it, we walk away. And it's a free invitation. It's not like to say you have to do anything specific. Do what your company tells you to do, over earn, outperform, and you'll get your invitation.
Right. I think that's so important. You know, I remember when I was with a company that I did some diversity work for the corporate leadership. And one of the things that the leaders kept saying is, people need to approach us. If we're looking for the next generation of leaders, we're not going to always reach down. You guys need to approach us. And I understand that from a cultural standpoint. This company was headquartered in Connecticut, right? Outside of Stanford, they're not seeing a whole lot of educated, articulate corporate people in that part of Connecticut. So, to have someone say, hey, Bob, I'd like to, I noticed the, fourth quarter results come in, and I, want to talk to you about what's going on in my division. Now, you may think of yourself as a lowly engineer, but Bob's going to, take notice. Oh, this person is knowledgeable what's going on in the company. And, I'm looking for someone to develop. And I think, I kind of advertise you as Carol's going to tell you about yourself, about what you need to get yourself. You need to get your life. And I feel like, a lot of us, we do need to step it up, right? It's not just enough to do your job. I mean, that's, as my former boss used to say, that's mom and apple pie. You don't get credit for that. You need to, if that's what you want, if you want a, career in corporate America, you need to step it up. And like you said, open the door. In fact, you've given me an idea. I think I'm going to reach out to that lady at PwC and see if she wants to come on and do a lab. Right? So we need to say, hey, especially, sometimes they're reaching out for us, and, either we're doubtful of their intentions, or, we got to get home so we can watch Scandal, and we need to, right? Is that what we talked about the first day you and I talked? We're going to have to prioritize some things. And, that's why I'm so grateful to the ladies. The ladies certainly here locally always come out and support, because, ultimately they know what BWISE is trying to do, right? We're trying to help you get your life, give you some tools so that you can say, well, you know what? I had an excuse before because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't have any support. I didn't have, whatever. Now we've got something in place for you. You need to take that and run with it. And I'm so glad that you spoke to that, because we can't wait for someone to invite us to the table, right? Power is taken, it's not conceded. So, for those of us who have aspirations for corporate America, and frankly, even if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to be, hey, I'm open for business. I've got this much experience in this background. I can do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have to start doing that and not waiting to be invited to do that.
Exactly. I agree.
Okay, so I got a question. Hey, welcome, Anna. How can you, Carol, help BWISE members gain invitations to $1 million invitations? I'm one, and several African Americans who would join succeed. So it sounds like, number one, is the criteria that you have to be in the financial services industry?
Roundtables, you have to. If you're not in the financial services industry, you won't even learn about it. But there are other industries just like the $1 Million Roundtable for every industry. It's just that because the financial sector happens to control most of the HR sectors for every financial, when I say financial, for-profit company, they notify HR of that financial company. So meaning whatever company you work for, as long as they're supposed to make a profit and they're not a nonprofit, they will get the MRT invitations on your behalf. But you're always notified. So it's not like to say you will never be notified. The problem is that when they do notify you, you have a very limited amount of time to respond. So it's like, you get it on a Tuesday, better respond by Thursday, or else you're off the list, because they've got others who are hungry. They've been working there the TUI off to get on this list and get there. But there are other institutions that measure the same way. It's just that, like I said, I've been to several. I've been to RIAs. I've been to everything. When we walk in the room, we don't see ourselves and we leave. Or we don't answer,
Right.
or we think it's some, like you just said, we just think it's a scam to get more money out of us to become a member of something else. So we don't answer the call. But these are people who want to acknowledge us, and it's not like they're not trying to invite themselves. Sometimes there are people that are not trying to invite us, but the issue is sometimes we don't answer the call either. So it's a lose-lose on
Right.
both sides. It's like, we found you, we want to invite you. Oh, you didn't answer the call because you're ignoring your calls today. It's like you can't have both. You have to know how to get to that level.
Yeah. Right. So for those of you who are interested in $1 Million Roundtable, I'll do some research and see what groups are relevant to some of us, what we're doing, and what our backgrounds are. So we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll figure out how to. Maybe someone will volunteer. Maybe some kindly progressive person would be interested in diversifying their particular industry, would like to come and share their knowledge and expertise about the $1 Million Roundtable. Because quite frankly, if we don't know about it, it's never going to be diverse, right? It's always going to be ones and twos, that make up, the diverse part. So we need to get that information out into the hands of, people who are interested in learning and participating in it. So that's important. Okay. I'm trying to see if there are any more questions. All of this is just around us getting our, ourselves together, making sure that we have, the internal fortitude that we need in order, to go to work every day. For those of us who, like I said, are really interested in climbing up the corporate ladder, I actually think that, in this day and age, and I've told several people this, I think this is a new world order. And I've talked about on-demand services. I think, especially with the rise of the millennials, and, they have loyalty to no one but themselves. If they can't bring their dogs to work, they don't want to work. And, people talk about the millennials and say they're this and that. But I said, you know what? We were sliding to corporate slavery. Corporations were slowly but surely taking things away and adding things, adding requirements. You can't smoke. You can't do this, in order to have, not even a great job, but a decent job. And so I think millennials have kind of slowed that down and said, listen, I'm loyal to myself. I'm only really going to work here about 2 or 3 years. And after that, I'm going to quit and I'm going to go someplace else with my skills. And so corporate America and HR in particular have had to say, whoa, how do we deal with these millennials? They're not like the rest of the generations and loyal and going to work, without question, and, they'll take all kind of crap from us. So I say bravo to the millennials. And also, like I said, this new on-demand, I think, we make it to the point where we won't have employees, we'll have contractors. Everybody will be a contractor, right? So when you have that kind of economy, there is no volunteer. I was just hearing today with one of the members about, companies get financial benefits for, volunteer work. ExxonMobil doesn't build houses for humanity. Habitat for Humanity because it's fun. They do that because that's good PR and good marketing, and they get a tax abatement and a tax benefit. So you're out there sweating and hammering and doing all that stuff, and they're getting money for that. Well, in this new demand economy, I'm gonna send you an invoice for that Saturday that I worked. Okay. You get something, I get something. That's why I love what Carol talks about. This is not free. And I told one of our members today, like, you are the CEO of your business. And, if the decisions being made at your company do not make sense financially for your business, you got to go. That's what they do to you. If Carol is too much overhead and they got to cut costs, I don't really care if Carol's about to lose her house or if Carol's child is sick or, Carol's car just broke down. I mean, those are all sad things. I'm sorry for Carol, but I got to maintain my costs, and we have to do that as well. I mean, that's so critical, Carol. Maybe there's something else in there for us to talk about, looking at our own, selves as a business, right? What's your overhead? Can you take this job? Maybe you can't take that job. It pays too low. You can't maintain. Now, I'm not telling you to have a whole bunch of purses, but you know what I mean. You can't maintain a reasonable standard of living with the hours that you work and things like that. I think there's just so much, that we need to start working on, or for those of us who are struggling with it, we need to know more about how do we get that. And that's why I think the confidence factor is so important. I'm looking at the clock. Boy, this hour went so fast, didn't it? Oh my gosh, it just flew by. Trying to see if we got any other questions. You guys have any more questions?
Ask away.
For Carol. Carol, ask away. Ask away. Carol, thank you for this. It's been so great. I know for me, and like I said, you've given me this idea. I'm going to reach out to that lady at PwC, because you're right. Some of us, we're not asking. Some of us are stifling ourselves and changing ourselves into what we think we should be at work. Some of us are leaving money on the table because we just didn't want to ask. We didn't want to feel like, we were being a bother. So, it's okay if we do this work for free. And you've heard stories of, the person who worked late. They worked late every night. They worked on the weekends. And when they got time to get, laid off, they were the first ones to get laid off. Not that they weren't doing a tremendous job, but, the people that, make the decisions didn't see a value in them because they didn't feel like, they put themselves first. So I want to thank you for that. Oh, she enjoyed it. Tam, I got a good question. Come on, Tam. Tam has a question. She's being shy.
No, we don't. You're right. We don't ask, and I think women are assumptive. We are very assumptive that we are going to be rejected. We invest in rejection. We invest in it big time. We're always invested in a no because we do a lot of what if talk. What if I go, and what if they say no, and what if I start the business, and what if we do a lot of self-rejection talk. And that's why when I tell people it's about the confidence, it's like, you're not understanding. You're already negating yourself and you did not go and ask for the opportunity. Sometimes you got to ask for your no's. You got to ask for them. You're like, look,
right,
is this going to happen or not? That's how you ask for things, and you come belligerently ready to accept whatever the actual consequences are. But when you do this what if, and you live in your what if economy, what if I don't get the job? What if I don't get the opportunity? What if I don't get the raise? But what if you don't ask? I always say, what if you don't ask? And what if in your mindset no longer exists? What if you were not allowed to say what if anymore? What would happen? What's going to happen? What if you never heard about the $1 Million Roundtable, which is the biggest political institution outside of politics? What if you didn't know about that? And then you sat there and did this assumptive thing that people in the inside are doing it to you, but you don't know that there's somebody else who's paying attention and auditing what's going on. What if you didn't know about that? What if you didn't know that there's a measure of success that could be higher than what you currently bring to the table? What if you saying what if and just go for it? I always say, even though I'm in real estate construction, I put out 120 leads a month to get 2 deals done every month. I don't sit here and wait on 1 deal to close. We put out 120 contracts a month. That is 5 to 7 contracts a day to get 2 done a month. I'm not sitting here and doing 120 contracts to get 120 yeses. I need 2. I have to put out 120 nets to get 2. Get 2.
Wow.
120 no's. I'm sorry, 118 no's to get yeses every single day. But what if I never?
Did you hear that?
But what if I don't? Here's the thing. What if I didn't put out 8 nets today? My family don't eat. So the thing is, you got to stop saying what if, because I put out 120 leads a month minimum. 1 month, I think in January we did 170, still to get the same 2. That's how much rejection it goes through in order for you to be successful, to get 2.
Right. So I think that's key, knowing that, just because you did, 17 or you applied for 17 jobs, that's not a guarantee that you're going to get any callbacks. And, you have to just first of all, you have to believe in yourself, right? You have to know that something is going to happen in a wonderful way for me. You have to have a support system, and hopefully that's what BWISE is. And then you have to keep going. I think that's what you're saying is you didn't stop at 50, which sounds like a lot to me. You just kept going. You didn't stop at 75. You kept going. You didn't even stop at 100. You kept going. and you probably would have kept going if 120 didn't result in those two. I guess you would go on up to 150 until you got what you needed to do.
Until I get carpal tunnel, we'll keep going. That's what the objective is. Not only that, I speak out of the country 90% of the times. I speak out of my state most of the actual week. And I'm doing this with a laptop, a phone, a computer, an assistant, and a lot of prayer. But I get it done no matter what. Right now, I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm like, I'm already done with today. But a lot of times I have to sit in the, guess what? This is not about rejection. It's about how many acceptances we're going to do this month. I don't talk about the other 118 that didn't go. I talk about the 2 that we did. We're like, we just closed 2 deals this month. Boom. Because I don't have to talk about the other rejections. That means my timing was wrong. Not that I wasn't the right person. It meant my timing was off. Meaning maybe my offer was bad. Maybe I wasn't qualified. Whatever it was. And I could care less about what the no is about because it was not for me. My assignment is in the 2 that I got. And that's what we have to do is we kind of like walking that assignment that the 2 that I got, that was for me.
Right. And you knew that your 2 were coming. You didn't know where. You didn't know if they were going to come at 75 or you didn't know if they were going to come at 118, but you knew that those were coming and you just did the work until you got what you needed to meet your goals. So I think that's so important.
And so many people have this idea that in order for you to be successful in career or in business, you just got to get one yes. Yeah, but you have to put out a lot of no's too. So that's just the fact. In order for you to get to the next level, got to put out a lot of those no's too.
And you have to have the confidence so that each of those no's doesn't chip away. For those of us who are, in the job market, and I had to come up with a strategy myself, every time, especially when you see this job and you're like, oh my God, this is a perfect job for me. Everything that is on my resume matches up. And then you get no after no after no after no. Those of you who have, who've been through this and, have, shared your experience with me and likewise know that it's hard. It's hard to keep First of all, we all know that applying for jobs today on the internet does not work. So if anybody's watching who's doing that, don't do that anymore. It's all about networking and get out in front of people and making connections. But if you were to do that, which what Carol is basically saying is, so what? You got 17 rejections. So what? Keep going. Keep going till you get 125. And then on that 126, maybe that's the one that's going to be for you. And I think, to do that, Carol, you have to have that mindset. That's important. But I think, we as everyone, it doesn't matter race or gender, certainly, but find someone that's going to be supportive of you in your dreams, right? It doesn't have to be, a PhD, blah, 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 but someone who's going to encourage you and say, girl, you did that right there. Or, you know what, that wasn't right. Your resume was sloppy. You need to sit down, fix it up. You know what I'm saying? You have to have someone who's going to support you and they don't have to hold your hand. I think we're all grown-ups here. So my expectation is not that you're going to come over and hold my hand and, pour me some tea, but if I'm working on something, hey girl, did you get that today? I know you're going to get it. Don't worry about it. Lift me up and I'll try to do, the same thing for all of you. But I think those 2 things together is know your worth, know your power, be confident in who you are, as Carol says, and have some support. I think you haven't talked about that, Carol, but I'm sure in your discussions, there's someone or some group of someones who are supportive of you and say, keep going, girl, you can do it. Because I don't know how you keep going. Even the strongest of us are going to have days where you're, self-doubt or whatever. So I'm guessing that you have that as well.
Yes, of course.
A support network.
I don't keep yes people around me. Tell me the truth.
Right.
I'd rather you tell me the truth than to say yes to me and then make me go out and look stupid. So your support system needs to be comprised of at least 5 people who are going to tell you the honest truth from a very specific space of like not wanting to see you fail, because each hand that holds each other is a collective of us all reaching the top. So like I have a lot of good men and women around me of all different nationalities, but the collective of us is that we tell each other the truth, no matter how much it hurts. It's like one of those, oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's horrible. What the heck? Or like I have a friend, once in a while, I'll put something out on Twitter. He's like my Twitter auditor. He'll call me right away. Carol, take that down. That looks bad. He's my branding. Carol, no, that's stupid. Let me tell you why. Because you said, and I'm like, that's the kind of friend you need. Somebody who says, your Twitter looks jacked up. go back.
Right.
He'll make sure it looks better because, he's into brand. Or my real estate guy, don't go see that property. I'm telling you right now, you're going to lose money. Right. They're more worried about my money than I am about anything else. And it's like, you need to have people on your side who are not just talking the language of just support, but they'll actually tell you whether you're going right or left. And they'll give you proof that it's kind of, all right, I need to listen to these people. And people who are much further ahead of me. Most of my friends are much, 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 much richer than me. So it helps a lot that I've seen. I know that they've done this. They're not guiding me according to something that they haven't already done.
Right. Amen to that. This has been such a great win. We could be on here another hour because there's so much content, but I know Carol's had a full day. She's had a graduate. Someone graduated today. So we're going to let her go put her feet up and enjoy the rest of her day. But Carol, thank you so much. I want to make sure that we stay in contact with you and tell us how they can get the book. You can get the book on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes, it's on Amazon. It's on our website at theconfidencefactorforwomen.com. It's at Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, and a few other book retailers in the UK. I can't remember all the names off the top of my head. But it's everywhere. The Confidence Factor for Women in Business. And then we also have the Confidence Factor for Women in Leadership and the Confidence Factor Chronicles that will be out. The Chronicles are coming out on the 16th of June. So that's going to be the new collection.
Okay, she's everywhere. So if you appreciate what Carol's talking about, please connect with her on Twitter. Follow her on Twitter. It's Carol Sankar, right?
I love my name, Carol Sankar, everything. Me some me.
Sounds very professional, Carol Sankar. Taquanisha Johnson. Carol Sankar sounds very professional.
My mother named me that. Blame the English woman. My mother's English and Trinidadian. That's what they all. Caroline, and my mother's Dion, and my other sister's.
I love it.
I love it. Walk around like royalty with tea. Mother, it's tea times, Carol.
Carol, I think it's great. I love it. I'm going to change my name to Carol. But anyway, so thank you for coming on. We're going to have you back, and it may be on Google Hangouts though if Blab doesn't get their little stuff together. But
guys, I apologize.
We would love to. No, that wasn't you. We would love to hear more as you continue to grow and do wonderful things, and then we're going to support this book. We're going to go out and get this book and read it. Maybe we'll even have a book club or something. And then those of you who are on LinkedIn, I'm connected to Carol. And then whenever she posts things, I try to like it so it shows up on your feeds. Please reach out and connect to her on LinkedIn as well, because, we want to, number one, support those who support us. Carol didn't ask for any donation. She came on to share her wisdom and insight with us. So we want to support her in her endeavors. And so when you connect with her on LinkedIn and you see something that she posts that's resonating with you, like it and share it so that, we can spread the word of the Confidence Factor. So thanks again to Carol. This has been awesome. And I don't see any more questions. I see congrats and thank you. So with that, I think that's it. We went a little bit over, but it was so great. These hours go so fast. We're talking about some really important stuff. So, thank you to all who attended, and we'll take a break next week because I will be in DC, and we'll come back with the following week with a young lady named Avis DeWeaver Jones. I don't know if you guys follow her, but she's phenomenal. She talks about the Women's Leadership Institute. So Carol, if you're not connected to her, she's good too. Well, she's coming across so many ladies, and like I said, I don't select everybody. Just girl, get your money. I don't. Carol and I have had this conversation about valuing what you're providing. Carol provides quality things, so she don't charge $17.99 for her events, right? These are, valuable things. You're a businesswoman. You need to, you don't go to Christian Louboutin and ask them to give you some shoes for $34. So let's not cheap out on our development for ourselves. So thank you again, Carol. Thank you all, and we'll see you not next week, but the week after that, and I'll have some update on what I learned from, Michelle Obama. I'm sure she and President Obama will have me over to the White House for dinner while I'm there. And I'll make sure that I tell you guys how everything went. But again, thank you all for attending. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Carol, thank you again. And good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night.